What's going on, guys? My name's Voss.
And I'm Phil.
And today we're in a 2007 911 Turbo. Alright, so today we're in a 2007 Porsche 911 Turbo. This is probably one of the most underrated performance-oriented cars you can buy, at least for the money. These things, brand new, were base 125. By the time you add all the options, you could go up to 150, 155 before taxes. I don't even know how much this would be, but these things are insane. And I'm joined with Phil today. He's the owner of this car. You want to shout out your social media or anything?
Wild Victor on Instagram. That's really all I got.
Check him out. He does some pretty cool stuff, and you can talk a little bit about some of the stuff you do, and we can go out and do some driving and see how she does.
Sounds good. I'm a contract utility helicopter pilot, and basically I make my living by flying around power lines all day.
Yeah, I mean, sounds pretty fun. Cars and helicopters.
Cars and helicopters.
Is a pretty good combo in my opinion.
Got a fast chopper. I want the fast car, but I'm on a budget.
This is one of the coolest cars you can get in a sense of when this came out, and you have the 6-speed, which is even cooler.
Three pedals.
3 pedals is the best way to drive. The 997.1 it's a good car, but it's not. I don't ever hear about these. Like some of the other ones. Obviously, they're still relatively new, but the air-cooled Porsches and a lot of those older Porsches, people are taking notice, they're going up. This one's kind of in that spot where it's towards the end of its depreciation, and it's a fantastic car. I mean, you're getting a lot of car for your money, and you can break down some of the numbers. What are we talking stock here? Like 480?
So stock, you have 480 horsepower. Now, if you get the chronograph option, you get an extra 50 foot-pounds of torque when you activate your sport button.
Wow. So
you can achieve 500 foot-pounds of torque, and you definitely feel it in this little thing.
And that's a 3.6-liter twin-turbo flat-six.
Yes, the last of the Mezger engines that Porsche made.
All right, this is one of Phil's. He's got another cool car. We'll have to get into that one another time. This is essentially his everyday driver when the weather's good, and he got this a little over a year ago, and how's it been?
It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been completely reliable as you would expect a daily driver to do. And in fact, I daily drove this for the first 9 months because I couldn't afford a second car at the time. So I drove it all through winter and all through all kinds of different road conditions, and it just never skipped a beat. It never let me down. I couldn't be happier to have not only a Porsche Turbo, but a car that works. So it's just been great in that aspect.
How many miles have you put on this?
We have about 49,000 miles. We might actually cross 50K today.
And you bought it with?
I bought it with 38,000 miles.
Wow. So I mean, it's every bit of a daily driver. Have you had any maintenance in that time period, or has it been?
When I got the car, the accumulator and the master cylinder went out. It is a manual transmission, so those are things that are kind of about that time they go out. And all I did was replace the rear rotors and pads. And I had to replace a coolant line. That's one of the notorious fixes in these engines.
Okay.
And that's been it.
And you work on a lot of that stuff yourself?
Everything that doesn't require a lift, I'll do it myself.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, yeah, even better. And I mean, okay, so I had an Audi, right? It was notorious for being hard, like getting my hands inside or being able to work on it. It was next to impossible without taking everything apart. How has this been in terms of, getting into it?
It is a German car.
Yeah.
It does have the engine tucked way back in the rear, but there are a lot of things that you can access without removing too many things. For example, an intercooler kit that I'm going to be putting on soon. I can do that all myself. It's just going to take a little bit of labor because I do have to remove the rear bumper, the tail lights, the rear wheels, the fender well, but it's nothing that requires too much mechanical inclination. If you can operate basic hand tools, you can get this knocked out.
That's awesome. All right, so the 480 horsepower and the 500-ish foot-pounds of torque were what this thing makes stock. Now, this thing is just a slightly hair above stock. There's a few things done to this thing that make it pretty awesome. You want to get into some of the stuff that you've done?
Absolutely. It's not too dramatic right now, but it just has a very light tune. We didn't get a chance to get it on the dyno, but it's estimated around 550 wheel horsepower.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's a drastic improvement.
It is it's a drastic improvement.
Yeah.
It's very noticeable from stock.
So now this is twin turbo. How is the torque numbers?
Torque numbers, typically with turbos and Porsches, just from what I've seen, I'm no expert, is that they're relatively close to the horsepower output.
Wow. I mean, this has got a curb weight of 3,500 pounds, 3,600 pounds?
Roughly, with a little bit of weight reduction.
You've done some, but stock. So I mean, that's a lot of power. It's a lot of power to be putting down.
Good power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
A couple of the other things I've done to really kind of enhance it. First thing with the suspension, I just went really light for the time being. I'm not sure where I want to go with that. But something as simple as wheel spacers.
Oh, really?
Really push the wheelbase out.
So now, I've heard mixed things about wheel spacers. Some people will swear by you should never change your wheels, leave the ones on there, because fitment becomes an issue. Have you had any issues at all?
I've had no fitment. I've done everything that's recommended by authorized racing teams and part manufacturers that actually make stuff for Porsche racing teams. And all that information is pretty readily accessible.
That's awesome.
So you can get wheel spacers that are designed by these racing teams, approved by Porsche, so you know you're going to get good results out of them.
And you got an exhaust, and you got some other stuff you want to talk a little bit about?
Sure, yeah. I make the neighbors angry every day. I straight piped it, and I put solid engine mounts on it, which you get excellent feedback from the machine.
Okay.
And just a carbon fiber air box kind of spruce up the engine, and it'll also help support later mods as they come along.
All the carbon fiber kind of sitting around here it's very tastefully done. I love your
the wing.
It looks. I was until I saw it in person, I was a little like skeptical, but it looks so good.
It's pretty cool, and it's kind of funny how I got that. The wing itself came with the car. But if you hit the spoiler button, the wing raises up 2 3/4 inch more than stock.
Okay.
That was one of the other things I failed to mention. One of the first things to fail in this car was this self-sealed hydraulic unit that pushes the wing up once you hit 75 miles an hour. And they're really expensive to fix. Luckily, Ren Kit, I believe is the company, Ren Kit, they make a E-Ram conversion kit to an electric motor instead of hydraulic motor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was I saved a lot of money doing that, and I can push that spoiler higher in the air into cleaner air to create more downforce.
We kind of talked a little bit about the car behind the kind of the stuff you did. This is an awesome car. I'm excited. We're gonna go out. We're gonna drive it a little bit. It's on right now, so if it's loud in here, it's because he's got straight pipes, and it's pretty good. So we're gonna go for a drive, and I will tell you kind of what I think behind the wheel, and let's do it. All right. So we're on the road now. I apologize if the footage is shaky or it's loud or whatnot. We're essentially in a daily driven road car that could very well be a race car.
Trying to get there.
Yeah, and I mean he's done a lot of things to this car that sorry. Oh, well that's not staying on, but I got a little carried away there. That was kind of the first time I've opened this up a little bit, and once it's a turbo car, so you'll have just a hair of delay, and once it spools and it's good to go, it takes off. I mean, this is fast. This is a lot. Why? We were talking a little bit. You had you said you kind of come from WRXs, Evos. Where was this is a huge, I guess not a huge jump, but this is a completely different car, What made you get up into this route?
Well, one, all the high displacement naturally aspirated cars I wanted to get, I couldn't afford, and so I kind of went with what I was familiar with, all-wheel drive and turbocharging. Ever since I drove my first turbo, I was just always in love that feeling, that boost kicking in, and you getting thrown against the back of the seat. And now, as opposed to my old turbocharged cars, this has now 2 turbos and 2 additional cylinders. So that overall feel of boost is just heightened drastically.
And you were kind of telling me when you were shopping, you were looking at the first gen Gallardo, which the Gallardo is definitely more flashy, but ultimately, between the 5.0 naturally aspirated V10. What made you, I guess, was it a better deal, or was this more of what you were looking for? How'd you choose between? It's a hard decision. What made you choose this?
The biggest factor was I couldn't find a manual gated that I could afford and that was in good condition. And then the other thing kind of was like a common sense slap in the face. Like, you're going to be stuck daily driving this for at least half a year until you get another car, and there's no way in heck I'm going to be able to drive a Gallardo in the snow around Ohio and all.
You could try. It's not going to be.
Buy a couple new bumpers while I'm at it. This thing I can take anywhere, and I have taken it everywhere, even off-road on gravel roads with 100% confidence. It is just a very reliable. It'll get you from point A to point B car. You can treat it as a car, because at the end of the day, obviously it is a car, but that it's just so user-friendly and usable in any kind of condition. It was a kind of like a logical purchase, I guess, versus a Gallardo.
It's very fast, but like my comparison, I guess, is let's compare the first gen Gallardo, right?
Yes.
Similar price points, and really everyone always talks about the first gen Gallardo, but these are very much overlooked in a sense of I don't see a lot of good stuff on these out there. They're 10, 11 years old, and they're almost forgotten. They're not as remembered as much as like an 04, 06, Gallardo is. But that's more of a refined raw car. I reviewed a LP560-4, great car. I absolutely love it. It put a smile on my face, but for a different reason. It was pure. It was enjoying. This put a smile on my face because it legitimately feels like it's gonna kill me if I don't sit there and drive it. I don't know how to explain it.
It's a driver's car. You gotta stay on top of it. Kind of respect it, despite it having all-wheel drive. It still does demand a little bit of respect, because when that boost comes on, it'll surprise you sometime. It'll throw you in the back of the seat, and the tires may kick out a little bit, which I think she may have.
It just a hair. We may or may not. We drive the legal speed limit, so
of course
we do that to the speed limit, of course, all the time. So, I think one of the I hope people can hear me well. This is so loud, but one of the things I want to say is overlooked in this one is people often dismiss the fact that this is a supercar. This is every bit of a supercar as a Gallardo is, or a 458. We're talking about a 911 turbo. We're talking about the high. I mean, they've got, obviously they have GT3s, GT3S, RSs, and the GT2, whatever, forget all that. But like the 911 turbo is the highest driver-focused Porsche, that's available.
The RSs are like, it's hard to say, because the RSs are more track-oriented, and I would argue that they're more driver-focused. But the turbo, especially the 997 with the 6-speed, is very overlooked as a driver's car, because as you could tell, it's a very driver-oriented car that just has a nice leather dash and a couple other creature comforts.
You can drive it to the track. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy it and then drive it home. You don't have to get a trailer, load it on a trailer, and unload the trailer. It's just, to me, it's kind of your best. It's one of those where like your best things are the ones you always have with you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And this is very much fits that bill in a sense of when you go somewhere, you don't have to get a truck, a trailer, load your car for a car show, get there, you know what I'm saying?
It's very utilitarian.
Yep. And I hate that this gets overlooked as a supercar, because it's every bit of a supercar.
It absolutely is. I mean, it goes over 200 miles an hour, sub 4 seconds 0 to 60. With the mods I have on it and at 5 average runs, I've launched it at 3 seconds flat. I'm not into the quarter mile thing. I don't know what that is, but you'll get to 100 miles an hour in second gear pretty darn fast.
We may or may not have experienced some of that already.
But we did that off on a track though.
Of course, yeah. Of course. You don't condone. I don't condone driving like that on the road.
Absolutely not.
But no, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never driven a 911 turbo till today. I was a little skeptical coming into this review because I'm no better than everyone else. I was kind of that's not a supercar. This is that's no Lamborghini, no Ferrari. I honestly used to think that way because they all look the same.
Yeah.
You know, they all look exactly the same. And something about when I finally started looking into kind of the cars a little more, it made sense why. Porsche believes, which I agree with, they have the perfect car design for performance.
Yeah,
right?
one of the perfect.
In Porsche's eyes, this design is flawless, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why change it with new models? Why their mentality is, I don't want to change it. Let me, every time we make a new generation, just slightly fine-tune it a little more.
I think that they've been chipping away at the same rock for years and just making a more beautiful and functional sculpture.
I mean, just being in here, let's talk a little bit about like daily drivability, comfortability. Super comfortable. I don't know what suspension set you're running.
We're in sport mode, so it's going to be a lot more stiff than normal.
Even in sport mode, I mean,
it's not
very
bad.
No, it's very comfortable, and I was very much. Sorry, I see a little bit of road, and I just got to give it a little go. But even in sport mode, it's very comfortable in here. You know what I mean? I don't feel sport mode. This is very comfortable, and I was afraid it might be bumpy. Have you ever what's the longest you've driven this in a stretch?
It would have been the day I got it. I went through 2 gas tanks in one day, and I was on the road for probably 6 hours.
And how did your back feel after that?
Honestly, I didn't care because I was having so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little sore, but that was just me kind of learning how to set up the seat correctly. But I have no problem sitting in rush hour traffic driving this thing, given I'd rather be going a million miles an hour, but it's comfortable to the point where you can sit in rush hour traffic and not need to go to a chiropractor afterwards.
And I've driven, we're been on the road for about an hour now, just driving around. My back feels great. I feel little to no pain. It's extremely comfortable. This car has just been super, super fun, and I don't know why I ever overlooked the 911 as kind of a perfect balance between driving every day, enjoying yourself, and you know what I mean? It never... No comment necessary. It's too good. And one of the, when this car came out, I think one of the big titles they gave it is it's a missile, right?
Yes.
0-60 in under 3.5 seconds. 500, you can get over 500 horsepower, 500 foot-pounds of torque. You're talking about in 2007. So let's think about that for a second. In 2007, a car that weighs roughly 3,500 pounds doing 60 and putting those kind of numbers down. There's faster cars now, but this is still very
relevant.
Yeah, no one should I don't understand why this is an overlooked supercar, because those numbers are, beyond impressive, even for today's standards.
Yep. And with all the money you save not having to maintenance it like you would, so I'm going to get bashed for this, like a Ferrari or something like that.
No, it's completely true.
You can put a few grand into a tune and some other performance parts, and now you have something that's on par to compete with supercars that are being sold right now, current generations.
All right, so I've spent a couple hours getting to mess around with the 911 Turbo, and I can say I'm a huge fan. This is fantastic. I can't thank you enough for letting me come out, drive your car. It's
absolutely my pleasure. Because like you were saying, there's so little content about this vehicle on the internet. I want to get it out there because I think it's such a good buy.
It is, and the great thing is, these cars are kind of at the end of their depreciation. So you're not really going to take a hit on losing a lot of money on this car, and depending on, Porsches are weird, but they can shoot up in value randomly, and you never know when and why the trend is. They do that.
Now's the time to get your a really good first supercar.
Yeah, and you're getting something where you're not going to lose too much money on. It's already depreciated. It's going to go back up, and you can enjoy it. You can put miles on it. If this was a Gallardo and it had 50,000 miles, good luck trying to sell it. Like, you're not...
We'd re on our 3rd or 4th clutch.
Yeah, at 7-8 grand a pop. Yeah, so this is every bit of a daily reliable car, and it has been a blast. I don't have enough good things. there's this trend going on lately. Every car I've been driving, I've been super impressed with. Maybe I need to get with the program and accept that cars are getting super good and are evolving really well.
Yes.
Overall, this is great. So if you enjoyed this review, I'm screaming because it is very loud in here. If you've enjoyed this review, smash that like button. This might be the most fun I've had in a vehicle, you know, in a car review.
Awesome.
It's so raw, it's so pure. It's something I want to take to the track and compare how it does, you know, just I'm curious to see. But smash that like button, subscribe, turn your notification bells on. Check out my Instagram, VASK, so VASK 614, and check out my buddy's Instagram, Wild Victor. I'll link it up here. He does a lot of cool stuff. He's a pilot. He flies helicopters. He's got a supercharged 7 Series.
Yes, Alpina V7.
Yeah, they're hard to come by. We'll have to do
Well, we'll definitely get together on that.
We'll have to do something for that. That's his daily driver. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Check him out, and thanks for watching. I will see you next video.